next up we have a 1961 Midway Deluxe shooting gallery. It's going to be a full restore, so I'm getting ready to set it down and get it taken apart so we can start the cabinet. So let me get started and I'll catch up soon. All right, before I lay it down, I think we're going to start with getting this angle iron off of the game. It's on all the corners. That doesn't belong there. They just put it on there for protection. So it'd be easier if I just get that off while it's in its vertical position. So let me work on that. Just got done with the edge guard. I got that removed, so that's gonna go in the trash. I do have one more piece on the bottom back side, but I'll have to wait till I set the game upright, you know, to get to that. So next thing is I'm gonna set this thing on a dolly so I can start taking the parts off the rest of it. So let's get moving on this, and I'll catch up when I got something else to show you. I now have it on a dolly so I can move it around. I'll tell you what, I don't know what this game weighs, but this thing is a pig. It is heavy. All right, so let's get some parts off this thing and start thinking about getting this cabinet repainted. That's the first step, so I'll catch up when I get something going. Getting ready to open up the back door. I've never actually had this game opened up. I've owned it for, oh my God, probably 20 years. So I'm restoring it to do a trade with a guy, and curious to see what's inside. So let's get rid of this nasty ass power cord. Don't even screw around with those, just get it cut off. Throw that in the trash. So I'm gonna look through my keys and see if I didn't get any keys with this game, so I'm gonna go through my containers of keys and see if I have anything to get lucky and open this back door up. There's 2 locks on it. All right, look through all my keys, my spare keys. I didn't have any to fit the back door, so ended up having to drill the lock out. So I was glad to get it open and see inside that there's nothing missing on the back door. As far as I can tell, there is a missing fuse, which is not a good sign. Could be some electrical issues in this machine. All right, so let's continue on. Okay, so I had to access the front door and didn't have a key for that one either. And this one was a barrel lock, which is a little bit harder to drill out, but that one, I found a really good bit, so I was able to get through it pretty easy. All right, so pretty cool. It's got the original coin box that you don't see too often. Coin mech is in there. I have to find out where the Jones plug is for the back door so I can get the back door off. So let me continue on. All right, looking in here at the harness, and this is very unusual. So the back door wiring harness right there comes from the whole way in the back, from the back door up to here. There was no quick disconnect, no Jones plug. It's all hardwired from coin mech, light bulbs, firing coil. That's crazy. But it looks like there is some interesting stuff in the game back there. There's some paperwork and some envelopes. So let's see what's in that. I'll show you that once I get it opened up. I have to get this back door off. So let me go in the back and see if it's easy to solder back there compared to up to here. All right, this is gonna about do it for today. I almost have it completely tore down. I have the compressor to come out, the gun, and the lock bar. And there's some targets under here. And some screen, and that's about it. So I almost got it taken apart. Oh, and the leg the T-nuts for the leg bolts. So we'll get those out, and then we can start working on the cabinet, get that repaired, and start working on some paint. So I have the cab pretty much all broken down. All the parts are off it. I just have to do the back door. So let's get this off, and then I'll have all the wood panels stripped and ready to start repairing and getting ready for paint. So let's move on. Just finished removing everything off the back door, which is right here. So every last screw is off this machine, and we're ready to start doing some paint matching and then some stencil work to record the stencils. And then we move on to the cabinet work, get it ready for paint. All right, just got done mixing the blue, so we have this matched now. And believe it or not, it's not as easy as what you think. So there's so many different shades on this game, and it looks like it was shellacked and made it turn green and all kinds of crazy stuff. So moving on to the orange now. Once I get that done, then I can start working on stencils, and then we can get on the cabinet and start working on that. Just finished mixing all the paints, so we have all the colors now. We have the blue for the base color on the cabinet, we have the white, we have the orange, and we have the spatter that goes over top of everything. And the only other one that's not up there is the black, which I don't have to mix that. Black is black. So all right, so let's document these stencils, and then we can start working on the cab. All right, it's time to start working on the cabinet. So you can see this was in somebody's shop and up against their work table or something. They got overspray all over it. So we're gonna start stripping it down to bare wood and get it tight, get the joints tight, and then start prepping it for primer. So this is gonna be one beautiful game. This paint scheme is really stunning when it's done right. So let me get working on it, and I'll follow up when I get something done. So today we're gonna strip the paint off the cabinet. I have one side done here. It's a big cabinet, and a lot of layers of paint, and also somebody shellacked over top of it. So it's a little slow going here, but we'll get it done. So hopefully I can get this thing stripped today. All right, just got done stripping the paint off of this. So it's down to bare wood, and I got the doors and the canopy and a couple other parts to do yet. But this is basically ready to start shoring up the cabinet to get it stiff, and then do some body work on it and get it ready for paint. It's a pretty big hog of a game. A lot of different angles to sand, but it's going to be a beauty. I now have the smalls stripped down, ready to start body work, so that'll be the next step. Let's get some body work done. This morning I'm working on tightening up the cabinet, so got to do that before you start the body work, otherwise the joints will show up through your paint work. So the canopy is done and ready for body work. Let me take you outside. And I'm working on the bottom cabinet now. So that's all tightened up. Tightened up and ready for body work. So working on the bottom cab. Phase 1 is done on the body work. So I'm ready to move on to phase 2 to get it. That's the last step before primer. So let's get going on that. I now have the cabinet in primer. So I'll let this dry, and then I got to go over it one more time, scan it for any small blemishes. But the canopy, back door, front door, interior panels, that's all been in primer also, and that's in the house. I'm letting that dry. It's a little warmer in there, so I'll follow up when I got something to show you. And here we have the back door, bottom panel, inside, interior bottom panel, some more interior pieces, and there's the canopy. and a couple more pieces here. So we got the glass cap and the front coin door. Okay, still at this cabinet. I have all the small blemishes on the cabinet filled in, and there's a ton more sanding to do. There's a lot more than what I thought was gonna be, so we got just little marks everywhere. So probably another day of sanding. I was hoping to maybe start the paint today, but that's not gonna happen. So I'll get this sanded and then I'll update you when I get something done. Okay, so I got the final blemishes sanded. That's a good day because I am sick and tired of sanding on this cabinet. I got a couple of real small ones to fill in and it'll be ready for paint. So we're gonna get some paint on this thing this week. All right, we're getting real close to paint. I just finished spraying the base color, so the cabinet looks really, really good. Ready to move on to some stencil work here. Really nice. All right, let's move on to some colors. Okay, so working on the whites on the canopy. So we got those sprayed. And I'm gonna unmask this and move on to the bottom cab white. Okay, I have the white sprayed on the front. So let's move on to the sides. Let's get the white on the sides. Okay, working on the bottom cab. So we have the white sprayed on one side. We're gonna let this dry and then we'll flip it over and do the other side. Okay, we're back on the front and we're spraying the orange. So we'll get this sprayed, then I'll show you when it's done. Then we can move on to the black or do the orange on the sides. Okay, so I have the orange sprayed on the front. Let's take a look. Wow, it's really starting to pop now with a third color. Just have the black to do. I think I'm gonna let this dry and then go ahead and do the black. That way I don't have to remask the whole cabinet to redo the black later. It's already masked off on the side. So let's let that dry and then I'll follow up when I do some black. Just got finished spraying the black, so that's all the colors on the front. So we're gonna move on to the sides now. All right, while I'm cutting stencils for the side, I'm going ahead and painting the black trim up top here. So let me finish the stencils and get some art on the side. Just got done with the orange/red on the left side, so the other side's done. So all the red is sprayed. Now moving on to the black. There's my stencil over there. So let me cut the black stencil while this dries, and we'll get something sprayed on the black today, hopefully. All right, I have one side of the black stencil sprayed. So we're gonna let this dry and move on to the other side. Getting close to getting the art done on this game. So really pretty awesome colors on this game. The red, white, and blue, but the blue is really, really awesome. And then it's got like a copper fleck in it. So spatter, nice contrast with the black. Working on a couple things this morning. I got new glass in, so I'm test fitting the glass. I'm gonna get the canopy up there to do the final check, but I had a problem with the canopy when I screwed and glued the joints together. I ran a screw through the T-nut and didn't know it, so it took me a while to figure out why the bolt wouldn't go through. So had to get that removed and we're good to go. Okay, so I have the canopy installed on the new glass. Everything's fitting really nice. The bolts are now threading in just the way they should. So the fitment's looking real good on this. Let's move on to the next thing. I'm working on the marquee, so we got a brand new marquee that's going to go on the front of this. Okay, today is working on the sealing the cabinet. So I got the clear coat on it. There's the back door. some interior parts, the canopy in the cabinet, more interior parts. So that, we'll let that dry. This will tone down and do a satin finish. But that's a lot of paint work there. Took a gallon of clear, high-end automotive clear just for the cabinet. It's a big cabinet, and then being a showcase style, you had to do the inside and out, so but it's gonna look really good. I'm looking forward to starting to put some parts on this. Okay, we have the legs out, and we're gonna start restoring those now. Okay, I have the legs sandblasted, so let's get them in primer. And the leg fasteners are restored, ready to install the legs. Okay, I was able to get the legs in primer, so I'm gonna let this dry overnight, then we'll get some paint on them tomorrow. I have the paint work done on the legs now, so let's let that dry, and then I'll install the leg levelers, and we'll get it put on the cabinet tomorrow. Installing some miscellaneous parts. We have some parts going on the coin door, coin mech, some paper labels, key tag. The back glass is now installed. So we're going to move on probably to the vacuum pump there for the ball shooting device. So we'll work on that next. And next up, we're going to be doing the blower motor. So we're going to get this taken apart and refurbish it to make sure that it's working at capacity. So let's get this done and we'll get it ready to go in the cabinet. Okay, we got the blower tore down, so we're going to start rebuilding this. So let's get back to it. Okay, I have the blower motor, everything restored, and it's ready to go back together. So let's get this put back together, and then we'll bench test it, and then we can stick it in the cabinet. Well, I should have this back together by now, but one of the internal feed tubes is broken. It's supposed to have like an air slots for air opening right there, and it's broke, so it's kind of fragile. I'm gonna see if I can make a new one. Just finished the blower unit, so it's all finished, ready to be installed in the cabinet. So let's do that next. I now have the blower motor installed, so that's a big job finished. We'll move on to the next one. I'm going to start the gun assembly now on the control board. It's got some problems. Somebody abused it in moving it, so it's broken the whole way across. They nailed it into the cabinet. And unfortunately the hose is shot. Looks like it got hot. Get this out of the way. Kind of like to save that original hose because I haven't found a source for that yet, but I'll look for it. All right, I have it all broken down, so we're getting ready to start the repairs. This will be the first step, and then we'll restore the parts that go on it. Okay, so we're working on the control panel. So we got it all shored up and put back together. We're gonna be working on the paint and the Formica. Okay, so the repairs are fixed. Let's get it sanded and start thinking about getting that Formica and the edges painted. Okay, the repairs are done on the control panel. Let's get that Formica on there. I have the gun broken down and we're gonna start restoring this, and I'll show you when I get something else done. I I have the gun metals sandblasted, and we're ready to etch primer these and get them ready for paint. I have the gun in primer and in paint. So the paint work on the gun is finished. I just have the grips to do, and there's the gun base with the bronze wrinkle finish. Also have the grips for the gun restored, so that's finished. As soon as I finish the control panel for mica, we can start putting this back together. All right, today we're gonna put the gun back together. So I got everything on the table, and here's the control panel sitting in place. Looks really good. Happy with that. So once I get it all put back together, it'll look even better. So let's continue on. Okay, got the vacuum hose for the gun. It's pretty crusty, so I'm gonna experiment and see if I can get this thing cleaned up. If not, I'll just try to find a new hose, but it's kind of a special hose, so if I can save it, I'll save it. And here's the hose after cleaning. Turned out really nice, so I'm happy with that. Got quite a bit done today. The gun is finished. Front casting installed. I got the blower hose installed. The lock mechanism installed with the lock. Got new old stock instruction cards. So just a couple little more things to do here. I have to build the mounting brackets that go underneath to hold it on to the cabinet, so they were missing on this one, so I'll work on that, and then I'll show you when I got something to show you. I now have the metals restored for the ball return. It's the grate and channels for the ball return. It all goes down in there, so let me get that put together and I'll show you the results once it's back in. I just finished putting the ball drain system in, so I got that all in there ready to go. Gonna work on getting some nickel plating on next. All right, got the nickel plating back. So not a whole lot of parts on this machine to nickel plate, but enough. We'll get these installed, then I'll show you the results when they're on the cabinet. Got a couple parts installed today. So we have the coin entry bezel and the coin return button installed. We have the coin return bezel installed. This was missing. I had to source that. And we got the coin mech installed. Okay, on to the next thing. Next thing is probably going to be inside, behind the coin door. There's a light that gets installed to shine light onto the playfield through that diffuser right there. So let's move on to the next thing. Now we're going to tackle this target assembly. I've been looking at this thing for half an hour, and it's one of the most complicated things I've worked on in a while. I'm not really sure how this thing comes apart, but we're just going to start picking away. And what I want to do is get all this art off so I can have it remastered and redone. So it's all wavy. Somebody had put electrical tape on it. It's just, it's done. The eyeballs for the clown are all blown out. So I'll catch up when I get something done. Okay, that was a job. Finally figured out how to get it apart. So everything's broken down, ready to start restoring. The reason I wanted to get it apart, I need to get this artwork started. So this is all going to be reproduced because it's just warped to heck. That ain't going to look right in the game no matter what you do. So I'm going to clean these up, and then we're going to start reproducing this. Just did the repairs on the target board, and it's in primer. So we're gonna let that dry overnight, and then we'll start putting some paint on that tomorrow. And here's the target art finished, all laid out. Turned out really nice, beautiful. So let's start installing this. All right, started installing the finished art for the target area. So we got 3 pieces in, looking good. So let's start working on the target assembly. On this target board, behind the actual art is a indentation that's routed out, and it gets this foam. So the foam is just a little barrier to give it a little bit of a cushion when the ball hits this target. So I think it just keeps everything from getting brittle and breaking. All right, so we have the foam down, and I have the new artwork drilled for all the holes, for all the screws. So let's get that mounted to this board, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Okay, so this piece is mounted to the board now, and we're gonna move on to there's a board that goes in behind this, and we're gonna put that art on there now. So let's move on to that. On to the back side of the target. So we have foam to cut for that routed out spot there. So I'm gonna get that cut, and then we'll work on the art. And we have the foam cut and installed. So let's get to the artwork and get that on there. All right, we now have the nylon spacer attached for the artwork standoff. So let's get the artwork on there. All right, got that piece of art installed. I just have one more piece of art. This one here. So let's get that installed, and then we'll start putting this back together with all the mechanisms. All right, we got the last piece of art mounted to the wood. So let's slide this in the cabinet. And here it is in the cabinet. I'm gonna wait to screw it down until I get the target unit installed, because there's a couple different holes where I took it out, and I'm not sure which one's the right one. So we'll get it fitted once the target's in the game. So now I'm gonna restore the mechanics so we can get this target board put back together. Looking forward to getting this done so I can move on to the final phase, which is the back door. I now have the target assembly all restored except for the actual targets themselves. So completely tore down. Every screw, everything's been gone over, bagged and tagged. The target, rope, everything, chain. All right, so let's get this together, then we'll work on the targets. Still working on this target mech, so starting to put it back together. So I have the main frame together, and I'm stringing up the target pulley. So let me work on this a little more, and then I'll catch back up. All right, I got the pulley rope adjusted. Really shouldn't be turning that unless it's vertical. So I'm not gonna lie, that was a pain in the butt. All right, let's move on to the next thing. I'm starting to put the 2 boards together. There's 2 halves of this target board, so working on this masonite one right here. So I've gone as far as I can. I have to do the star targets next, because they have to go on next before I can put anything else on. So I'll show you what I'm working with there. So here are the star targets. So these all have to be restored. I haven't done anything to them yet, so they're pretty crusty. A lot to them. I have the new light caps that I have to see if they fit, and they're 3D printed, so I'm not a fan of those with the lines in them from the 3D printing, so I might have to do something different. But let's continue on, and I'll follow up when I get going on these. Working on the first star target, so I have it all restored, ready to put it back together. So let me get it together, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. I now have the blue star target rebuilt. So there's the new lens. Everything's taken apart, rebuilt, restored, new light sockets. So I just have to put the light shield on it, and it's ready to go on the mechanism. All right, the blue target is finished. Turned out really nice. I'm happy with that. So let me work on the red one, and then we can get them installed. Just finished the red target, so that's kind of a big deal. Nice plateau to have those done. They're not a lot of fun to do. So next thing I'll be doing, the final part to this target assembly, is painting the clown head and installing that on the carriage over here. And here are the finished targets together, the blue and the red. Let me flip them over, I'll show you the front side. And here we are with the front side. So I'll get these mounted to the target board, and then after the clown head, we're ready to install this in the cabinet. I now have the spinning targets installed. So the chain drive, everything's installed, greased up. I'll flip it over and show you the other side. All right, here's the back side of the target assembly. I'll show you the front. And here's the front. All finished except for the clown head target, so I'm gonna work on that next. And I have the target unit in the cabinet now. So moving on to the clown head, and that'll be the last part of this, and then we can move on to something else. That was not a lot of fun. There was a lot of work in that little thing there, so. But hopefully it works the way it should, and it'll be worth all the time put into it. So let's continue on. All right, just finished the clown head. So we're gonna let this dry, and then we can install it into the game. Okay, started to install the clown head. So that's what it's gonna look like. Looks pretty neat. I'm gonna have to probably do some modifications. When he's hit, he hits the art on the backboard, so didn't realize that before I went through all this painting and everything. He's gonna have to be probably shaved down a little bit, so I'll figure something out. Here we have the last major part of the restoration. This is all the mechanicals for the back door and the score unit. So gonna get these restored and get this back door going, and then that'll be really close to having this game finished. Working on the back door mechs, so we have new power cord, fuse block, everything's done up until these first row of relays. I got a couple more to put back together, but that whole row is restored. I'll show you when I get it done here. Here is the bottom row of relays finished. The top row is not done yet, so you can see the difference. All right, starting to go through the mechanisms. So we have that one refurbished and ready to be put back together. So let's get that back together. And that mechanism is finished. I'll show you the other side and the other side. So we got those two mechs to do, and then the score, the light board and the score reels, and then this will be ready to go back in the game. And we're on to the next mech. So that one's restored, ready to get back together, so let's get it back together. All right, working on the last mechanism on the back door. Well, the last mechanical mechanism. I still have the score unit here under this blanket to do, and that's going to be a whole monster in itself. So getting close to putting this back door back together. Just finished the last mechanism here, so this one's done now. Been working on these three, so they're all done. Ready to move on to the score reel light board. which is right here. So I'm going to move on to that next. And here's the score unit that needs rebuilt. A lot to one of these if you ever tore one apart. So let's get cracking. All right, working on the scoreboard. So we got the all the mechanics removed off the wood. We're going to start restoring all these score reels, all new light sockets, etc., blah blah blah. Got the wood going, so let me show you that. All right, I got the back side of the wood refreshed, and we're going to flip it over and start working on the front now. And here we have the front side. It's all been refurbished, repainted. So get ready to do score reels, and then we can start putting this thing back together. Working on the score reels. So I have the first one broken down and restored, and we're ready to put this back together. So she's all cleaned up, ready to go. So it's all pristine, and let's get it assembled. And here is the first score reel put back together. Everything's restored, looking good. So let's move on to the next one. Making good progress on the score reels here. So we're on the 5th one out of 6. So this one's all restored, ready to go back together. Everything's nice and clean. So let's get this together, and let's get this final one done over here. And then we can start thinking about putting this score unit back together. So all the score reels are finished. I'm working on the lighting right now. So I got the light sockets restored. I got to get new bulbs yet, and all new light sockets. I'm in the process of replacing those. So the light socket, all brand new light sockets are installed. I just got to solder the wires on. So get them soldered, and then we can screw the score reels into the brackets. I just finished all the light sockets, so they're all wired up, finished. I just have to put the bulbs in it. So ready to put the score reels in it, and then we can mount everything on the back door. And here's the old crusty ones removed. Can't trust them, so they have to go. All right, here's the finished light sockets. We got the bulbs installed. So let's flip it over and get the score reels installed. Okay, and I always test all the bulbs before I install it in a game. That way you don't have to pull everything back out. And here we have the finished score unit. So the reels, everything's restored, put back together. We flip it over, show you the other side. Score unit on the front side. So we're ready now to take this whole table and mount it on the back door. So this table is ready, it's finished and ready to be mounted on the back door. So I have the back door restored. Just got to set up another bench so we can slide this on there, and then it's ready to go on the cabinet. Here I have the back door ready for the harness and the mechanisms. So it's all restored, and new paper labels. So it's ready for the parts. All right, I have all the fasteners restored for the back door harness. So let's get that harness screwed down to the back door. All right, I have all the mechanisms attached to the back door. Just got a couple little things to do. I got some wire looms to put on the power cord. I got the locks to install. I'll do that stuff though when I get it on the machine, on the cabinet. And then I have the hinges to put on before I can mount it on the cabinet. So the hinges are all ready to go. So it won't be long now and this will be on the cabinet. And here are the hinge parts ready to go. So let's get those installed next. Working on getting some of the harness fastened to the cabinet. So I got all the wire looms installed, staples. The score unit is installed along with the target light bulbs to illuminate the target box. So we're moving on to the harness up front here. So I got it run inside the cabinet. We got to bring it up inside the coin door there and get everything put together up front there. Getting ready to start the hanging ball targets. Looks like the switches have been molested on one of them. So let's get them restored, then I'll show you the end result. Just finished the targets, so they're restored, ready to be put back together. And let's get these installed in the game. And here we're back together, ready to be installed. All right, so I have the target unit removed, and we're getting ready to install the ball targets up underneath there. So let's get that done. All right, got the switches installed, the ball targets, and I'm just testing it to make sure that they're adjusted properly. So looks like we're good to go. All right, just finishing up the wire harness. I got everything run to the front and hooked up underneath the control panel. The only thing left to do is I got to hook the wires up for the coils and the vacuum motor. So let's finish this up, and I got to put the coin back in too. So the wiring harness is now finished. Everything is tied in. And run from the back to the front. So moving on to the hose for the ball feed on the gun. And here we have the play field ready to be installed. So let's get this in the cabinet. All right, I have the target unit out and a couple other scenery parts to be able to install the bottom board play field in the cabinet. So let's get that installed. While I have the target unit out, I decided to install the clown head. It was just sitting in there before. So these have to be trimmed down in order for them to collapse when you hit it and activate the target switch. So it's been trimmed down, activates the switch nicely, works very freely, and it's fastened in there now. So this is ready to go back in the cabinet for the final time. I now have the play field installed, and that's a big improvement. Looks really nice. It's been sanded, primered, blocked down really flat, and then high automotive lacquer sprayed on it, and then seal coat, and it looks really good. And got the corner blocks in for the ball drain. All right, so let's try a first coin up. Well, we have no vacuum. The gun trigger is not shooting. And it's not scoring. So we got some bugs to work out. All right, working on the blower mechanism. Got it back apart. It's not shooting the balls right, so I'm gonna try to troubleshoot this. I'll be back when I find something. I now have the glass channels sanded and ready for paint. So we're gonna put the primer on these first, and then we'll move on to paint. All right, we have the glass channels in primer, so we have to let this dry for a couple hours, and then we'll start to put some color on it. I now have the base color on the glass channels, so we'll let this dry, and then we'll put the clear coat on them. Here we have the finished glass channels. So we'll let these dry overnight, and then can install the glass tomorrow in the canopy. So I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna look a lot different. And I still have the front glass to make. So that gets a special cutout to go around the gun. So I'll follow back up tomorrow. And here's the finished glass channels. Turned out really good, and the color matches the spatter on the cabinet. All right, so let's get some glass installed. I'm now working on setting the glass. So we have the side panels in and the corner glass channels. So let's get that canopy ready to go on top. And I now have the canopy installed. So side glass canopy is installed. I have to make the front glass and a couple little things here. Turned out really nice. Oh, I have to do the marquee. So piece by piece. Working on the front glass. This is the original. That's pretty much toast. And here's the new one. Still got the protective film on it, but it came out beautiful. So we're gonna get this installed in the cabinet, and then I'll show you the end result. I now have the front glass installed. It's window quality, so it's real clear. It looks really amazing. Happy with that. And here's the new marquee, getting ready to install this. So let's get this on the front of the cabinet. Just got done installing the marquee. Looks really good. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. All right, this game was missing the latch for the coin box. So I got it fabricated here. Let me install it, and then I'll show you the end result. And here it is installed. So ready to move on to the next thing.